Smashing, mate. How are we doing?
Yeah, good, mate. You?
Yeah, I've been better than I was yesterday. You, and how are you getting on?
Fine. That's better than yesterday on the tram, to be honest. A lot better.
Yeah, goodness. How are we doing? Liam, we got our first pub session of the year, and at least that was a nice thing out of the day yesterday.
How are you getting on?
That's first technical hiccup of the day, thanks to Ian Wilson. I can tell by that beleaguered look on his face that he's fucked something up, so that's a good start. Welcome to all three listeners who've joined us. It was good. It was good to be in the pub for an hour and a half or so before it came yesterday. Quite enjoyed the company of the McCurdy's and Beck's. Harry, it was good of you to leave me with them for half an hour while you just nipped away. But no, I very much enjoyed their company yesterday afternoon. That was probably where the highlights from yesterday begin and end.
Yeah, Ryan, any key highlights for you before we get cracked on with listener questions?
Yeah, yesterday I met the lovely Elaine Lumsden, Greg's mum. It's the only thing I like about Greg is his mum. I was actually quite worried for Ewan's mental health last night. Dropped him off at the house and I was kind of thinking about it. I thought, geez, he's not in a good way. So I'm glad to see that he's here. He's in one piece. He's okay, and the season book hasn't been chucked out the window.
Yeah, no, it was.
It says it, hasn't it?
Yeah, we'll get into it shortly, but Ewan wasn't the only one of us that was in Tantrum Central yesterday. So yeah, we've got a lot of listener questions to get through today, so we're just going to kind of get fired in with them and see how we get on. But well, was there anything a bit more positive we could start on? Where is it? Okay, so Sean said Adam Le Fondre was great when he came on. Doidge played well. The rest of the team were brutal. Don't understand why we didn't involve Boyle more before he went off. No creativity, no passion, piss poor. But we'll cover the end of that later on. But let's start with the positives. He said Adam Le Fondre was great when he came on and Doidge played well. Ewan, I know you were quite a fan of Doidge yesterday. So how much did he impress you the whole game, and then how do you think he improved when Le Fondre came on, if he did?
Doidge was the best Hibs player in the park by a country mile. Entirely disagree with you when you seem to think he was shite in the first half, but he done his job. The players around him absolutely didn't. Doidge was fine and played well, as far as I'm concerned. Played the same way he did when Adam Le Fondre came on as he did beforehand. They just had someone there to actually get on the end of his flick-ons. Really, is the truth.
Yeah, fair enough. My comment was more along the lines if he didn't do anything impactful, like if he wins balls and it doesn't go to anybody, I don't really consider that to be winning balls. But Greg, Doidge, Adam Le Fondre, did they get pass marks for you yesterday in a pretty poor team performance?
Yeah, Paul, they get pass marks, to be honest. And I know you say something about he wins headers, but he doesn't really do anything impactful because we don't go to anyone. But that's not his fault. You know, he can't do the rest of the team's running as well. It's up to them to be in the areas where he's flicking it onto. So yeah, I thought you absolutely pissed the bed and some yesterday over Christian Doidge, to be honest, because I thought he was actually very impressive.
And as I said, I thought second half he was very good. But moving on to different player, Lindsay Gibson said, is it just me or did Dylan Levitt show more in 10 minutes as an attacking midfielder than the rest have for the last two seasons? Why is Lee Johnson playing him as a 6? Ryan, come to you. Do you think Levitt's got the potential and ability to play further up the field?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got that technical ability, and I think we've seen a couple of flashes yesterday of the kind of vision that he's got. There was a pass in particular where I think he took out about 4 players. He's definitely got the vision and the technical ability to play further forward. But I'm not sure if it's a case of Lee Johnson trying to kind of shoehorn players into positions that aren't necessarily their strongest position, which he's known for, as we've seen with other players so far this season, albeit their first league game.
Right, and Liam, yourself, thoughts on Levitt?
I thought he did all right, and there was aspects of the game he was good at. There was aspects of the game he was less good at. I've not watched it back, but I think he's at fault for not stopping the cross, if I'm not wrong, for the third goal. He's not the only player who's at fault, by the way, for that goal. There's quite a few of them that are culpable for what was really pretty slack the attacking side of the game. I think we did see a bit more intent from him to get the ball forward. I'm still really up on the sign. I think he still will be a really good signing, but I don't think he's had a great start to his career. Let's put it that way.
I don't think that's a unfair comment. Ryan, just because it makes me laugh that someone, a St Mirren fan, sent us in, I just want to get your reaction on it. Scott Giddies said, how does it feel that Jake Doyle's Hayes is O'Hara's little bitch? Not saying I agree with that, but I just wanted to get your reaction, Ryan.
I love Jake Doherty's, but yesterday wasn't one of his best games. Mark O'Hara was really influential throughout for St Mirren. I think he was. Every team needs a heartbeat, and I think he was that yesterday for St Mirren. He looked physically strong. He got box to box. He was involved in most things that were good for St Mirren. He won a lot of balls back. I just thought he was really, really impactful in the game, really effective. Disappointing from our point of view.
And I think I'm being honest, guys. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. And one thing, Dave, who's watching us live on YouTube, did comment saying Greg's hair is amazing. Dave, you are correct. But let's just rip the Band-Aid off. I'm not going to read out all the questions, but James S, Liam Hay, J, Parmaham 2, Big Al 22, all came with, Dan Taylor and Chris Bell all asked questions along the lines of, should Lee Johnson be sacked? I know it's something that we covered a couple of times throughout the course of the last season, as it was quite a roller coaster up and down season. But sacking a league manager after one game, Liam, you had the most expression on your face. What do you think of that?
I had an expression on my face because you said they covered it a couple of times last season. Fuck me, it was like Groundhog Day last season. I think we covered it every week for about 3 months.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pointless discussion because we're not sacking a manager after one league game. You'll get the first round fixtures, I would think, regardless of what happens across the next round of games. I'll be honest, I don't really want to entertain more talk about sacking or not sacking a manager, whether I think it's the right thing to do or not, because it's ultimately a bit of a circular conversation that doesn't lead to anything. He's not going to be sacked as a result of the performance at the weekend. You could argue he should be, based on his 15 months in charge so far, based on him having 2.5 transfer windows to fix things and not fixing things. You could argue he should be, but he's not going to be.
Yeah, fair. Ewan, we'll come to you. And what was the question I was going to ask you? I want to move on from. There's so many Lee Johnson out questions. I'm just trying to find other things to say. All right, Del Ferrier, not a right back, found out. Hooks and puts on left back, shuffles everyone across, takes off Boyle because he's dropping too far back to cover Fish at the right hand side. He should have just subbed on Miller. It's not rocket science. That was from Cannon Hannon. So essentially, when Del Ferrier went off, he wasn't having a great game, to be honest. He put the team was a bit of a mess the way he tried to rearrange it. Do you think he made the right choice, or how would you have changed it yesterday if you were making this similar?
He took the 2 players off that needed to go off. They were both absolutely horrendous. Who did he bring on?
Del Ferrier and Levitt.
Del
Ferrier went off. Sorry.
I was going to say Levitt, but he did bring Levitt on at that point. No, he brought. Yeah,
he did.
I probably would have just brought Miller on, to be honest. At the time, Harry, I was not arsed. Moved to 3-5-2, that's fine. You thought it'd be all right. Boyle has proved fine and effective enough as a wing back yesterday. I don't necessarily buy into the Boyle wasn't effective because he was playing at wing back. Well, he wasn't effective when he was playing at winger either. So at the time, the changes probably felt fine, but on reflection, I think we all sort of agreed at halftime that I actually thought we were probably worse. Even though we'd conceded the 2 goals prior to the change, I thought we looked so disjointed when, for that sort of 15-minute spell after up until halftime.
And then speaking of Lewis Miller, Greg, Alicia Suter asked, what does Lewis Miller have to do to be in the starting 11?
I'm not sure. He would be in the starting 11 for me, to be honest. I thought that the change of shape didn't help us at all. Boyle wasn't effective as a winger, as Ewan says, and pushing him further back to wing back was just the worst thing that could have happened to him yesterday. I really think that there must be a problem with Miller again if he's not fully fit, and that's why he's not getting on. But for me, it made no sense to not bring him on. He should have been on from the start, if I'm honest, rather than keep Del Ferry there. It's all very well playing against an Andorran team, and look, he did play well, but I think, again, in the league, it's a totally different a totally different beast, and you could see early on that he wasn't up to scratch. Misplacing passes, making wrong defensive decisions. I think maybe he came out with us, gave a bit of credit. Maybe we were thinking, oh, he could do the job, but based off yesterday's performance, there's no chance he can do a job at right back in this league.
Yeah, it's maybe if Miller wasn't 100% fit, it's the same as Boyle and Andorra. Why put him on the bench anyway? I just think it's a really weird thing. It just makes fans question you if you don't in the end, to be honest.
Where's the Miller fitness thing coming from? Sorry.
No, it's just a quite like, in my opinion, the logical thing to do was put Miller on. You needed a right back, so why not put a right back on the pitch? And it just, for me, if he was unfit, that's what I'm saying. But
no, I just mean there's not been any indication that Miller's not fit.
It's just an assumption.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, because we were all quite happy with the same team after Thursday night as the team that took pitch on Sunday. So we're saying we would have played this person or that person, but actually we're all happy with the same team. Del Ferrier, I think that for Del Ferrier, the sort of 2 failed clearances is kind of his sort of Will Fish moment, if you like, at Tynecastle. He either sink or swim as a result of those mistakes that he made on Sunday. I don't think he's a right back. I've seen Morgan in midfield said that countless times when we've talked about him as a player on here. But I hope he bounces back from it, and I'm certainly not writing him off just yet because he made a couple of errors when he was played out of position. But it's going to be very, very difficult for him, because I think that will have got a lot of people's backs. Obviously, I think the fact that the crowd was so big would have probably counted against him ever so slightly.
Just because we probably want to mention it again, I absolutely am writing him off. I think he'll make 5 more appearances on a Hibs shirt. Wow. I don't think he'll play as a 6 ahead of Jago, ahead of Leo.
Well, that's all 3 right backs you've written off, Ewan. So I mean, if we maybe sign another one, you can write that one off as well.
Genuinely, I don't think Del Ferrier. Cadden's good enough, maybe just not right back.
Oh, you're realising it now, eh? You're fucking realising it now.
It's not really a history. I never questioned Cadden being good enough to play for Hibs. I questioned him being good enough to play right back, which at times last season definitely shown. Chris Cadden's more than good enough to be a Hibs regular starter, just maybe not a right back. But Del Ferrier, I say that against Groningen to the guys as well. I think he got exposed badly, and maybe it's not all on him, but just positionally and stuff. But he looked nervous yesterday. He passed the ball out of play 3 or 4 times as well. Like he had a real bad game, and I just don't think he's up to the standard. I think he'll probably go on loan again at the end of this window, and I just don't see it personally. It's just it's just I know the guys have seen more of him probably than I have, but
I mean that's it. He's ultimately his third choice. What you would assume third choice right back at the club, and he's playing because, let's be honest, the manager doesn't fancy Lewis Miller. That's why he's not playing.
Yeah, fair comment. But someone that is playing, that is getting Jason D's back up. He said, why Hanlon? Why is he always playing? Why can't we sign players who are good enough? Ryan, we'll come to you there first, because you looked a bit disappointed in that question, because I was disappointed in that question, to be honest. I
just want to get one thing right. I've seen a lot of Paul Hanlon stick here over the last 24 hours. And, that guy has been more committed to Hibernian Football Club than anybody over the years. Him and Lewis Stevenson, he's played over 500 games. He may have put a foot wrong along the way. He's battled back from injuries, setbacks, highs, lows, whatever, right? But he does absolutely not deserve the stick that he's been receiving over the last 24 hours. Especially based off yesterday's performance. He didn't have a hand in any of the goals. Granted, he could have done a wee bit better for the third, but why is he always the default go-to, him and Stevenson? It's baffling, really baffling. Total scapegoat. And, if it was us that was saying things about certain players or individuals, people would be quick in telling us, but it's okay for individuals to just pile in on Hanlon, and it's really starting to kind of get my back up a wee bit, and I don't usually get pissed off with things very easily.
Fish was 100 times worse than Hanlon yesterday. And against Doran.
I just think it's a proper go-to for people. It's like default position, let's point the finger at Hanlon. And I just really do not understand it. He's given more to the club than most ever would.
I think it's what Liam started, and no digging you out here, Harry, but I think a part of it is sort of what Liam said about you when you've highlighted age in the past. It's simple. I think it's easy for people to just say, oh, well, they've been there for 10, 15 years. Let's just move them on. You know, like familiarity breeds content. Like, I don't know. I mean, neither of them were excellent yesterday. Nobody was, but far and away not the worst on the pitch for me.
Hanlon
was probably one of our best players last season, and he struck up a very, very good partnership with Fish. So it's ultimately continuity, which a lot of what football fans want, until it obviously suits their agenda and they want to have a pile-in. So that's football for you.
But taking another different perspective, Simply St Mirren said, that's as poor as I can remember Hibs being since the Butcher days. It was simply game over at 70 minutes. I'd even say it was our naivety, as in St Mirren's naivety, that let Hibs back into the game more than anything that Hibs done. You can't sack him till November at least now, though.
Who is that boy, sorry?
Simply St Mirren, he's a St Mirren fan.
Simply St Mirren.
Yeah.
Must be, well, maybe more, less Paisley and more Paisley Road West, maybe, you know. But,
maybe less Simply St Mirren and more Simple St Mirren.
But
came over on 70 minutes.
Did you know? I was a bit I know.
Mate, you don't even start.
That's it.
Start. Are you winding me up?
We were fine.
Game over on 70 minutes.
Right, at 2-0 down at 70 minutes, you thought we were getting beat comfortably. The game, you thought the game
was a game over at 70 minutes.
St Mirren shat themselves when we scored one goal on the counter.
Oh my God.
And they sat in the rest of the game. I'm so St Mirren had us on strings yesterday. And he's right. He could probably be right as well. For an opening day of the season, that was so bad in the first half yesterday. To not even have one shot on target. Wow. Awful. Genuinely awful.
Yeah.
I'll take you.
I genuinely think he's right. In the 70th minute, if you'd said to me, Hibs will even score today.
Yeah, what he's saying is it's game over on 70 minutes, but it wasn't. Because it just wasn't. You can sit there and he's right, he's right. It was game over, but it wasn't though. So you're just talking nonsense. You were very reactive yesterday, so we can see you brought that into tonight's episode as well.
All right. Well, we've not really dug deep into Johnson. We just kind of gave our brief opinions. But Greavesy sent in, we won 15 league games last season. 9 of those wins came against teams down to 10 men. Why can't Lee Johnson get a team going for first game of the season at home? Zero confidence in him. He takes no ownership in any defeat. It's always the player's fault. So essentially what I'm asking here is, what's actually the problem with Lee Johnson? He's been in the game. He's coming up to 500 games in management. And in my opinion, I don't think there's much of an identity. I think that his system of 4-3-3 is one of the worst formations I've seen Hibs play in terms of creating. I don't think we create much at all. What do you think that Lee Johnson's actually trying to get this football team to do? Ryan, I know you like your tactics. Tactically, what do you think Lee Johnson's actually trying to get across to the players?
If you were to watch Hibs week on week, you'd have absolutely no idea, because there never seems to be any familiarity in the way that we play. There's no philosophy. I know philosophy is a word that's flung about quite a lot, but I mean, there is no clear idea of what kind of football team we are. What you gig on at?
You said familiarity.
Familiarity? Familiarity, aye.
You are bringing that down more, Ryan, aye.
I wasn't bringing, I was just clarifying because as soon as you said it, Liam started getting... Anyway, you were making a good point. Go on.
What an arse, eh? Right, this is making for good radio. So there's no ID. The inconsistencies every week in the way that we're trying to play. So we play against Andorra away from home. Absolute shit show. We turn up, we play nice, slick attacking football on the Thursday night there, and then we default back to punting the ball back to front and missing it in midfield. It can be quite effective. I've said this in the group chat before. We do not recruit for a 3-5-2 formation. We don't have wing backs. We nullify our attacking players when they play at wing back. Whether Boyle was in the game or not, it's irrelevant. It only takes him a second to come into the game. And by putting him so deep, he's having to pick the ball up with 2-3 guys in front of him, as in people marking him. He can't be effective there. Every time Lee Johnson shits the bed, he defaults to this 3-5-2, 3-5-2, and it's horrendous. It's horrific. You say the 4-3-3 is bad. The 3-5-2 is even worse, mate. Yesterday, like, if we're going to win games punting the ball up to Doidge and playing off him, fair enough. But we're not going to. We're not going to win games doing that. And Lee Johnson talks about having an ID, having a philosophy, playing front foot, attacking football. I have never, ever seen it. I have not seen it yet. See, for me, he's a car salesman. He's all talk. That's all he is a car salesman. Talk, talk, talk. And he's obviously convinced that the Hibs board, through his talking, that he deserves time, that he deserves this money, because he's been backed more than anyone.
See, well, Ryan said we're going to play on the front foot and stuff. I'm looking. If I was to guess at what we're likely to do this season, I think we'll sacrifice a lot of the ball and try to hit teams on the counter and in behind with Ewan and Boyle's pace. I think that's sort of what I'm coming to expect. I think I thought the Andorran team still had a lot of the ball on Thursday night, especially in the first half. And ultimately we got the ball in behind them quick. You've seen it for Boyle, the very first goal of the game. Neil got the ball in behind them quick, and I do think that's going to be the plan, trying to hit diags in behind to Ewan and Boyle to get us up the pitch. I don't think we're going to dominate the ball this season. I don't think that's going to be the game plan. But then it does, playing someone like Doidge down the middle, as much as Doidge I thought was good yesterday, Doidge is never going to be effective with two wingers that are high and wide because there's nobody near them. And that's where the issues start to come. I don't expect Hibs to dominate the ball this season very often. I really don't.
So that in itself
is another thing. But
that in itself is another inconsistency from Lee Johnson, though, because he spoke about wanting his centre halves to be high up the halfway line, dictating the ball, dictating the flow of the game. So you're right in what you're saying. You're right in what you're saying. But again, it's another inconsistency from Lee Johnson tactically in the way that he speaks, blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, indeed. But a massive issue off the field that's been identified, we need to get stuck into here. Errolston Loon said, when will the kiosks be able to be fully stocked and fully functioning without having to get at least one, sorry, we don't have, when I'm ordering? I'm no far off just popping into the shop on the way to Easter Road and sitting on a wall to have a scram before the game. There was no haggis poutine in the East Stand by the time I got there, and I would say distraught, but that's not a strong enough word to capture the feeling I was feeling. Have you guys got any horror stories from the kiosk? In fairness to the guys, I think it is normally their first couple of shifts at the start of the season if we want to cut them some slack. However, I do want to eat scran that is on the board. Any horror stories from the kiosk so far this season?
Third home game of the season, and again they failed to stock things that were on sale. They didn't have enough supplies of stuff. I went down for haggis, poutine, fries as well myself. Didn't get any. I had one of my mates sitting very smugly nearby as he was polishing off his double portion that he had. So not amused. 2 words, won't be back.
This takes ages as well, but I don't know what time we got on the ground at, about 22 maybe, and I got to my seat 2 minutes before kick-off. It takes ages.
I got a juice yesterday and there was no straw.
There wasn't straws in the stadium. It was weird.
It's just really not good enough,
Nicola got a juice, right? They put a lid on it and did they gear a straw? Like a sippy cup, man. What do you expect her to do with that?
A what?
It's like a sippy cup. You'll find it when you have kids. The thing is, right, whoever is leading up that operation is failing. You'll be needing a sippy cup by the time I'm done with it.
The scran's decent, but it just takes ages. Greg was fucking raging against that Doran team on Thursday, man.
They wonder. Do you know what it is? It's like, so you walk in, right, and nobody's been in yet, and they're just standing ready. How? It's like Hibs, right? You start and you're not ready. You're not even prepared. I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's really bad.
It's like they're surprised someone wants food or drink for them, eh? When you got the kiosk, it's like, oh really? Oh, you want something? All right, 2 seconds. We'll go and make that juice. Why have you not got juice ready? Why is it not just sitting ready? People order Coke all the time. Why have you not got Bovril sitting ready? Why have you not got chips ready? Why have you not got? The only thing that's ever really ready is sweets and chocolate, because they didn't have to do it and they just pick it off the shelf and hand it to you. They are, honestly, it is. You could find deficiencies in that so quickly. Eh? Just walk in and sort it out. Anyway. Move on.
Anyone that's just tuned in the last 5 minutes is on their way.
Aye.
All right, let's go for another one. Lewis Connor sent in, Johnson didn't start any of his new signings. Thoughts? Didn't look up for the game from the start. All right, anyway, we'll tackle that question. Johnson, why didn't he start any of the new signings? Greg, we're not going to you first for a question. Why do you think he didn't start anyone?
You better ask the man who takes the protocol, the defence protocol meetings, because I don't know. Same team as last year, pretty much. You know, if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results anyway. So I don't understand why we're not utilising new players and not getting new players in the squad and sticking with the same players that ultimately probably let us down last season. Might be a clean slate, but you can't forget what happened last season, and he's using the same players. It's ultimately the same tactics. I mean, when Obita came on, I wasn't sure, and then the one time he did take his man on, he looked a threat. He put a good ball over before Doidge's goal ultimately went through to Yuan, and he played it back across and we scored. So I don't know why he's not playing the new guys, and I'm guessing Venti will probably start when he's ready. Levitt, I don't know what the issue is with him, why he's not starting, but I don't know. I think I feel like he's just happy going with the same things and hope that things change, but they won't.
Yeah, I'll act as Lee Johnson's defence here then. So Fish and Yuan are probably the second and third, if not first and second most exciting signings of the summer. They are still signings, but they were there last year. So obviously, in that argument, they don't count as signings, even though this summer they technically are. Venti wasn't available. Walcott's injured. Obita's just coming back from an injury. Levitt's not on the team because he had a stinker in the first half at Andorra, and then the team scored 6 goals against them in the second leg without him. So 2 of them are goalkeepers. One of them's on the bench. The other one's obviously injured. You know, like Harbottle was on the bench, but everyone was, like Greg said earlier, delighted that Fish and Hanlon were going to start that partnership up again. So whilst it isn't ideal, I think you'd have been hard pushed pre-game or any time between Thursday and Sunday to have found a Hibs fan that would have had any of the other new signings in the starting 11 on Sunday. So, you know, like, and it's not a great look, but when 2 of your 3 sort of big signings were at the club last year, it does take away that sense of newness at the start of a new season, if that makes sense. You know,
yeah. Right. But guys, we're gonna throw it to the YouTube comment section. Darren Phil Thompson said, "When every time we lose, Stevenson and Hanlon get the blame." Yeah, we covered that earlier. Cameron Calder said, "Why is Miller not starting?" Again, sorry, mate, we covered that earlier. But Kenny Whitson said, "Do Bashiri and Venti start on Thursday?" So if Venti is eligible, do we think he instantly starts, or would that be harsh on Doidge? Liam, you're nodding your head. Is that a nod to start Venti, or is that a nod?
I'd start Dilly Venti if he's available on Thursday. Marquee signing. I think you've got to throw him in. Doidge was very, very good on Sunday. He was very good on Thursday night as well. Well, maybe not very good. He was certainly good on Thursday night as well. But I think you have to start your marquee signings. I think we need to. There might only be a goal. There might only be a goal either way in this tie across 180 minutes. I think you've got to play your most dangerous player if he's available. Big caveat if he's available.
Update on that. Like,
Club haven't officially confirmed. We were under understanding he'd be available from Monday, so I don't know if that means for the league or Thursday. As for Bashiri, no.
Yeah.
If he wants to play a 3-5-2, then he should be Harbottle, Fish, and Hanlon on the left side, because Lewis Stevenson can't play left side half. That's not a slight against him. It's just not his position, really.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to do that, would you have Yuan at left wing back, or would you have him up front with someone else on the left?
Stevenson.
Stevenson left wing back. Fair. Pardon?
Definitely not left wing back, Harry. I mean, yesterday at right wing back, he was like so deep it was unreal. But yeah, not for me.
I just think
stick him up front with Eddie.
Yeah, Greg's right, but I just feel like we are so unsuited to that formation. Like, our 2 biggest threats are left winger, right winger. Boyle, Yuan. Like,
I don't want us playing 3-5-2 because it just makes us lazy. And we were lazy yesterday. Just fucking lazy passes that we just like 20, 25 yards up the pitch. And then with no real intent other than just looking to try and get off a second ball. if we resort to 3-5-2 for the majority of the season, we're going to be bottom six this season, because there's other teams in the league who play better hoofball than us. St Mirren yesterday, look at the boy Olasanya up front. Like,
He was very good.
he was on loan at Arbroath last season. He's probably their fourth choice centre forward, and he looked brilliant because he's tailor made for playing that system. Look at Alex Gogic in the centre of the three yesterday. Absolutely tailor made for that. Doesn't need to worry about marking. Doesn't need to worry about, really positionally, doesn't need to have the sense to play that position, because his dream at yesterday was to go and attack the ball because he was spare every time. If you're going to play 3-5-2, as Ryan says, you need to have the players to do it. We don't. Doidge is a great nuisance factor. He's a pest. He's brilliant. He's not good in the air. Like, people just make this assumption that because he's 6'1", he's good in the air. He's very average in the air when you compare him to some of the other centre forwards in the league. Just fuck 3-5-2, man. I can't stress that strongly enough.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that, Liam, as well. I was actually shocked at how well Doidge done in there yesterday. Like, because I never really remembered him being that effective at that type, and it does just make it too easy to try and hit him. And I mean, from what Doidge said after the game, it was very much the tactic in the second half to hit him. So, he ended up scoring 2 goals from it. So then maybe it was effective when we actually decided that's what we planned today, rather than just defaulting to it. But it just was really bad. But just go 4-4-2. No, Boyle on the right hand side, Ewan on the left, Venti and Doidge up on top. Let's just go old style. But Greg, you're shaking your head. But
no, not for me. I mean, so what you've said is that we scored 2 goals from playing that way, but we didn't. We played 2. We scored 2 goals from getting the ball into the wide.
No.
For me, you want to be playing a 4-2-3-1. If anything, you have two people that control the ball in the middle of the pitch. You've got one behind the striker and 2 out wide. And for me, that's the way you set up. And you get your one. You get the 2 fullbacks up as well as support. We should be controlling so many games in this league, especially at home. But the way we play at the moment, we won't, because we've not got the ability, and maybe players are being a bit lazy. And the way we're set up and the tactics, they don't suit us controlling the game, when that's exactly what we should be doing.
If you play 4-2-3-1, you're probably looking at your best 11 being the 11 that started yesterday. Other like that was available, because Campbell's probably the most ready-made player to play in the 10 in terms of scoring.
I'll tell you what, right? Josh Campbell for me was a epitome of lazy yesterday, and he made so many mistakes yesterday. And do you know what? He wasn't the worst one, because Doyle Hayes done the exact same a couple of times as well. We get caught the wrong side. We get caught the wrong side 2 or 3 times in the game, and we're not quick enough to get back in. We're too lazy in terms of positional sense. So,
well, we've got a lot of action going on in the YouTube comment section, guys. We're loving it. Please keep them coming in. Ewan Denham said, no one can defend Johnson anymore. Form is too erratic. Time for change. Takabot said, Villa fan here. Hoping you guys win to face us in Conference League. Takabot, we hope we face you in the Conference League, and we hope we pump you. Lewis Melrose said, is the reason we can't force too high up is the lack of mobility at the back? Fish and Hanlon are not the quickest and often get caught on the turn. I think that's quite a interesting comment. Do you think that their lack of mobility, because all the strengths that we list about the two of them, it's not often that we'd say. Greg, you're shaking your head in agreement or disagreement with the comment?
How are they not mobile enough? Like,
I think, and he's probably looking at the second and third goal, in which both of them were kind of flapping. Well, Fish for both goals, and Hanlon just wasn't back quick enough. But
okay, so that means they're not mobile enough to play centre half. Is that what they're saying? Or is it just another lazy assumption that
so
gets
he's
made?
asking if that's why we shouldn't play too high up.
What, we just meant to sit deep and invite teams onto us? Like, there's a risk and reward here. Like, you do need to go up the pitch as well. You can't just sit back all day. Yeah.
Fish did look slow. Fish did look slow yesterday. That's the one thing I think that striker got away from him quite easily for the second goal. But I agree with Greg. You can't live your life in fear at the end either, can you? You do have to try and get onto the ball, and you would want to play a little bit higher up towards the halfway line, but it could be a factor. If he doesn't think they've got the legs to cover him behind, it could be a factor in the decision not to.
He looks slow with the other players in the pitch, Jack. Like everyone looks slow yesterday.
Oh, no,
Nobody
yeah,
comes out of that game looking like they were actually agile at all. So
Greg, the question was about Bill Fish and Paul Hanlon. Like,
yeah, but it's easy to single out their pair because they're ultimately defenders, but nobody in that team actually looked on the pace. So what am I meant to do? If nobody's on the pace, we'll be just going to camp on half and defend for 90 minutes.
Well, we got a nice comment, guys. This is great. Kevin Maddox said, "Hi lads, from Kev from Newcastle here. Thanks to Ryan for the Blackpool shout out last week. Was at the game yesterday. Enjoyed the sun and some soggy sarnies. All the best." Ryan, are you buzzing that Kev has joined us?
All right, Kev. Sorry I forgot your name, mate. But it was good to meet you. It was great to meet you, and cheers for tuning in, my man. Appreciate it as always.
What a legend. And now the question that's coming up a few times now. Bob Stewart's the latest asked, but we've also been asked by just Hibs as well as Handsome Jack. If we play 4-3-3 and midfield isn't strong enough, we are a lightweight, need an enforcer. But essentially, people are asking, is it time to bring Jego into the team to provide some form of defensive stability? Ewan kind of nodding, Greg and Ponderous Thought, Ryan and Liam seem to be agreeing to an extent. Liam, you go first.
Jego might enable us to play some of our better players further up the pitch. Will that in turn bring us defensive stability? I am not sure. He was brought on to bring, I assume, some amount of defensive stability because can't see any other reason for bringing him off the bench yesterday, and he was sleeping at the third goal, ball watching. So if that's what he's going to bring to the table, then no. But if he can bring some of his better qualities that he showed last season, then possibly yes, to get a couple of the players higher up the pitch, probably namely Newland, Dylan Levitt, to be honest, because I wouldn't be starting JDH and Campbell off the basis of the performance of the weekend. I thought they were both dreadful.
Yeah, not their best performances. Ewan, you seemed quite a resounding nod when you heard Jego starting.
Just exactly what Liam said, to be honest with you. Doyle Hayes and Campbell yesterday. Jesus Christ. Even just, I know, no Jego's biggest fan. Don't think he's that effective, but players shouldn't feel like they can't be dropped. You know, like simple as that.
The difficulty with bringing Jego in is you're almost rewarding poor performance because in the 10 minutes that he was on the pitch yesterday, what did he do that was good? He just wasn't as bad as the others, really.
On a header that led to the equaliser.
And we're reward. I mean, we are struggling. But I mean, I said this all summer. We need to sign a six. We haven't signed a six yet, in my opinion. I was told that I was wrong. I said we need to sign a right back. I was told I was wrong. Those are two positions that would be an absolute priority to fill for me right now. A six and a right back. A six that we can trust.
Yeah, can't disagree with that. One question we got on Twitter that I thought was quite interesting. JPG White said, "Can we drop the most backed Hibs manager in history stuff?" When you consider how many players McLeish went through, he's just one that had a better backing in my lifetime. Most of the people repeating this mantra seem to think history started 3 months ago. And I think McLeish is quite a valid comparison in terms of actually being allowed to bring in quite a lot of high caliber players. Would you say that Johnson is the most backed Hibs manager? No, I'm not saying that like whether it's warranted or not, just the actual question. Do you feel at the moment Lee Johnson has been the most backed manager in Hibs history, or do you think that's a bit much?
In terms of fees spent, yes. I don't think there's any debate to be had there. In terms of wages, I don't know comparatively when you take into account inflation in 2000 versus 2023. I understand we're paying some very big wages, but I think in terms of fees spent, absolutely. I'd say wages is a gross number, absolutely as well. The wage bill is the highest the club that's ever been. So, but yeah, maybe taking into account inflation, maybe not. I don't know, but I'd say probably the correct answer is that he is the most backed manager in club's history.
Yep. I think also when you talk about being a backed manager, it's not just financially; it's the support that he's had from the board, the CEO. Harry, you bravely asked the question that Sean Maloney was removed for much less in terms of losses and bad runs. So he's been backed in that sense. He's been given a lot of support and a lot of time where previous people haven't. Jack Ross had one bad run of form out the door. Sean Maloney had about 13 games out the door. So backed, not just financially, but given a lot of time and a lot of grace for some reason as well.
Hey. One question in the YouTube comment section that did make me laugh, Liam. This one's for you. We've got a person, Handsome Jack, that's answering a lot of who's asking a lot of questions, and then you and Denham said, "Is Handsome Jack more handsome than Liam?" My initial response is that can't be possible. So unfortunately, Handsome Jack, you got to get that hair on point, or you're not going to meet Liam's level.
Thank you very much for that comment, Ewan.
Did you
As
see
someone who takes compliments really well, I really appreciate that. Could we move on to the next question, please?
We can, Greg. We'll come to you on this one. Grant Fraser on YouTube said, "How many more signings do you think we need? Surely we have to start to dip into the loan market soon. Could we potentially be waiting on news about CJ Egan-Riley's injury?" So first of all, how many new signings do we need? And two, is CJ Egan-Riley, if a possibility, one of the top on your list?
It's all very reactive, isn't it? You know, you have a good game and people are like, "Oh, the squad's really good," you know, absolutely buzzing, but superb. Don't need any more signings. If a bad game, and I need a new team. I think we're probably two or three away. And Egan-Riley is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Briefly said it previously. Wide player, midfielder, right back.
Ryan, any disagreement?
Right back's a massive priority for me. I think you can see kind of top level football that fullbacks can really be utilised as one of the most effective players in the team. You've seen, I know that's not going to happen at Hibs, but you've seen kind of like Trent and John Stones really change the role as right back. I think we need to sign a kind of top class right back. Egan-Riley was good when he played there, but we need to get a really good right back that's going to be effective going forward, defensively sound, stops the cross, defends back post when it comes in from the other side, just does all the tasks and does them well. Plays consistent. That's all I ask for. So right back for me is like the total number one priority. Johnson's obviously not fancying Miller for one reason or another at the minute. But between him and Del Ferry, that's all we've got to pick from. So obviously Cadden's going to be out for some time.
I don't understand why Lee Johnson doesn't rate Lewis Miller, to be honest.
I don't know if it's maybe he's just terrible in training or something, because every time he's played, like of late, I know at the start he didn't have many good performances in the League Cup group stage last year, but he looked okay in pre-season both times, and then he looked
But
good
we know
towards the
from
end
a
of the season.
conversation that from a club employee with Liam that's not the case. So let's not start making things up here, Harry.
I'm sorry for trying to provide some form of reason. As I said, as you said, it's unreasonable that I can't even speak now. I'm irate. But yeah, it seems irrational that Miller isn't starting games. So I'm trying to provide some form of answer to that. Because at the moment, he's the best right back at the club because he's the only right back at the club that's fit.
Maybe Lewis Miller's got too much people like you for Lee Johnson.
Wait, you could have just ended it at the only right back, because it's like I say, Cadden's a right midfielder, right winger, and Del Ferry's a midfielder. So you could have just stopped at even just only right back.
But anyway,
I don't
question.
get it, but there we go.
Okay. Mark McWilliams said, "That's as bad a first half I've witnessed in a long time. Absolute shambles." And that made me think, apart from Dundee United at home last year, when was the last time we had a first half that was as bad as yesterday? Because yesterday was rough in terms of that half. That was a really bad, 45 minutes of Hibs football.
Ross County at home last season, we got beat 2-0. Cove Rangers a couple of years ago.
Last season. Motherwell at home last season for the full 90, to be honest.
Dundee United, first 45 at home to them, the 2-2 draw last season. I mean, we're no short of ones to pick. I mean,
Celtic last season.
The home derby.
When we won.
Rangers in the split.
Yeah.
Remember was it 3-0? We were at 20 minutes against Livingston. Mind the game we lost in January thing. Aye, that was horrendous. That was one of the worst games of football I've ever seen from his point of view. But yeah,
thing is that there's no shortage at times that we've been absolutely honking the place out under Lee Johnson. You could
yesterday was right up.
The St Mirren game last season when he made that comment about "you're no wrong, pal."
Away from home.
That was away from home.
Oh, sorry. I was away from home. I didn't realise the question was home. But there's plenty to pick from. You're running out of fingers and toes, to be fair.
In fact, we've so easily listed off ones when the question was half our fixtures. Like, we've not even started on a league game yet.
It's a bit like that question we got last season. Is this the most likeable Hibs team in history? And we could all instantly name about 20 teams that were more likeable.
Oh, God.
Sorry, whoever asked that, by the way.
No. They were having a good time. But Ewan, we'll come to this because it reminded me of a tweet of yours that done pretty well. Tony Swanson said, was it a good thing to be on holiday and miss this?
Mate, so good. You never feel better about Hibs about an hour before the first competitive game of the season, eh?
Yeah.
Like, and I'd even just totally evaporated that Andorran game from my mind. I went into yesterday uber confident, honestly, just thought we were going to cruise it yesterday. I really did. I had a really good feeling yesterday, but obviously, I've been really defeatist. It's one game, you know. It is the first game of the season, but it just stings, mate. But it did feel good missing the football for a little while. But you wouldn't have it away, would you?
Aye. And then Ryan, we'll come at you for this one. Lyle Kennedy simply asked, "Why are Hibs so shockingly shite?"
Jesus Christ! How long have we got? I wouldn't know where to start with that. First and foremost, if we're signing the players we are, Ewan has added context to it, but if we're signing the number of players we are and not playing them, is the recruitment on point still? We're paying big fees for guys that still come in. Maybe things will turn around as the games go on. I mean, it's been a slow start, disappointing start, inconsistent. We've got Luzern coming up in the week. St Johnstone beat them a few years ago, actually, on penalties over 2 legs. So that gave me a little bit of hope. But yeah, we are bad at the minute. We're bad.
I'm just going to say, I'm just going to take on a slightly different tack, and I get why everyone's feeling the way they do after that performance on Sunday, but I still think, on the whole, there are a lot of things to be positive about at the moment. You know, in terms of the record investment in the squad, we spent a lot of money on a striker we've not seen play yet. The investment we've made in Yuan, the investment we've made in other parts of the squad as well. The sort of return of what looks like back to close to his old self with Christian Doidge. Admittedly, it's still early days. I think there's the beginnings of a good squad there. I don't think it's the finished article by any means yet. There's still nearly 4 weeks of this transfer window left. There's still time to bring players in. I think we will see quite a few squad players move out. Ewan's talked about one that might move out, he thinks, in the next few weeks. I think there'll be a few others, to be honest, who will go out, and I hope that we can bring quality in. I've got a wee bit of faith in Brian McDermott to do that and do it well. I just hope that we can get that right, because I don't think we're a million miles away from it. I just think we need to be very clear on what we're recruiting for and who we're bringing in. I don't feel completely down in the dumps. I know it was bad on Sunday, but I'm not, I've not, after one league game of the season, it sounds crazy to say this, but I've not lost hope. Yeah, I still think we could have a good season, a really good season. I think that I do think the foundations are there. I do think, sad to say this, but I think a huge amount rests of it on the shoulders of Dylan Venter. I think if he's a good signing, and if he scores 20 goals this season, no pressure. But I think we're a very good season. If he turns it to be anything less than that, it might be okay. If he's a complete flop, I think we'll struggle this season.
What I was going to say was just similarly. I was going to say one thing that I am positive about, having seen the performances of Doidge and Lafondra yesterday, if Vente can, like Liam says, even get to that 15-20 mark, like if he's decent, then I'll be quite comfortable and confident with our striking options. Actually, I haven't seen this of Doidge and Lafondra yesterday, like, because you would expect Vente would be that first choice, but they both look more than capable to come on and be an option as well. So that would be the positive thing yesterday, and I suppose you could argue they showed character as well, Ryan.
I just don't understand what that means, though. Like, it's just one of those broad phrases that showed character. Like, you're not going to try and get yourself back in the game. Like, you're not here to try and win the game. Showed character. Like, it's just proper lip service. And you hear managers say it constantly when their team scores a couple of goals to get back in the game. Like, car salesman. But he also did chuck a few players under the bus. He also showed a side to him which I didn't like, which was, I don't like to make subs early because it shows you've got it wrong. To me, that is a stubbornness with your own personality that you should not be kind of using to kind of stop us from succeeding. If you need to make changes after 5 minutes, you do it, whether you've got it wrong or not. You know, you can't be digging your heels in about that shit.
And Greg, coming to you for one of the YouTube questions, Lewis Melrose says, what type of right back do we want? Do we need someone more defensive to allow Boyle or Ewan to focus less on coming back and allowing them to sit higher up? Or would you prefer someone that would overlap or underlap with them?
Someone that can defend first and foremost. I think when you've got a front three like that, you just give them the ball and let them utilise their abilities and traits. So I think obviously chip in and get forward at times, but ultimately first and foremost you need to defend and help out your defence. But I'm not asking for Cafu or whatever, but I'm asking for someone who can defend properly.
And then Hibs, the name's just Hibs, on YouTube has asked this question twice, so I don't want to ignore him. He said, how have Hibs, Aberdeen and Hearts all got below average managers? I can't understand it. All three teams can do much better than who they have at the moment in terms of managers. I think that's valid. I think that the three clubs should have been a bit more ambitious. I know when Hibs were looking for appointing, there was a certain manager who was supposedly priced himself out of the job, which I think would have been a really good appointment at the time. And then Hearts, I think, had a few names floated around as well that I thought they would actually do quite a good job there. I wasn't actually aware of anybody in for the Aberdeen job, but again, I just think it's a bit lazy from those two. And obviously, in my opinion, the main reason Lee Johnson's here is the club didn't want to sack three managers and have them all still on the payroll because they've been sacked in that short a period of time. But Ewan, why do the three clubs all have managers that you wouldn't quite expect at this stage?
I don't know, mate. Obviously, Aberdeen and Hearts have went down the sort of young manager route and stuff, but I don't necessarily know if that means they're below par. Like, I don't think they're going to do all that well, but they haven't necessarily shown that they won't, especially Robson at Aberdeen. You know, we're just going off a feeling and definitely with a Hibs bias there as well. Like, we appointed Alan Stubbs, for instance, you know, like rookie manager, and obviously won the Scottish Cup, but with Lee Johnson, I don't know if Hibs can attract a bigger profile. Maybe now with the money that we've maybe invested this summer, but last summer, coming off of two managers being sacked when they were, I don't know if we could have attracted much more. Obviously, there were John Dow Tomlinson was quite heavily linked, but that had demands that maybe the club weren't willing to meet at the time. I don't know if I actually agree with that, to be honest with you, for all three. I know I've slagged off Hearts and Aberdeen a lot, but they've obviously just decided to sort of give youth a chance in the management game, and
could Aberdeen afford not to appoint Barry Robson?
I find they've done everything.
Question about that. Like, when the job he did from where he took over to last season, I don't think any club in the world would not have given Barry Robson that job. That's a situation Hearts thing, that's a bit different. I think they maybe did want to be slightly more ambitious, but the fans thought they were going to get Wilder, and let's be honest, I don't think Chris Wilder was going to go to Hearts. I think his stock is still probably too high for that job. So they went with Naismith. But from my perspective, I don't know if it's unambitious. I think the club appointed Lee Johnson, they genuinely believed he was the best man for the job who was available. I would like to see us go down a different route if it doesn't work out with Lee Johnson.
Yeah. But boys, Handsome Jack's just asked it on YouTube. Oh wait, Ryan wants to make a comment on managers.
I think, Barry Robson did do well. Liam's right in his assessment that you would have to be absolutely bonkers not to appoint him. The difference in Aberdeen doing well and Hibs doing well, kind of managerial level, is that Barry Robson was really consistent with the way he set his teams up. The 11 that he picked every week were consistently playing, and I think he played all 11 players in their best positions. There was no irrational shit the bed halfway through the game or halfway through a half in default to position that takes or nullifies our attacking threats.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this new season, Ryan. It's so much fun.
Nailing my colours to the mast, baby.
But Handsome Jack asked it on the YouTube comment, and of course John McIntosh asked, but in every walk of life, you discover enemies along the way, and I think John McIntosh has discovered one. Before we get to John's question, Finn on Twitter asked, guys, what's for breakfast? What a twist. Ewan, what did you have for breakfast?
I didn't have breakfast today, mate. It was a Monday. I was chasing my arse before I left for work. So first thing I ate was at lunchtime. Didn't have breakfast today, which isn't like me, to be honest. But
Ryan, any breakfast for yourself?
You know what? Wrongly, I start work at 6:45, and wrongly every day I have no appetite at that time in the morning, and I skip it. See, by about 10:30, man, I'm wait to pass out. So blood sugars are all over the place. It's a lot. So I should really make an effort to eat breakfast.
Liam or Greg, any breakfast for the podcast?
Breakfast every single day, religiously. Not
Well,
porridge, though.
What did you go for today?
I have the same thing every single day. And a banana, Weetabix with a scoop of chocolate protein powder, load of milk, 4 Weetabix biscuits, by the way, before anyone was on. Two's for wee guys. And I wash it down with a black Americano.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
you don't like coffee
as well.
if you have milk in it.
Hmm?
Then you like coffee if you have milk in it.
Correct.
Wow. All right, Greg, did you breakfast it?
Yeah, but I just had Weetabix today because I wasn't at work. If I'm at work, I have porridge, and if I'm not at work, I have Weetabix.
I'll guarantee you, Elaine makes her porridge.
Nah, she doesn't. I don't know why you're chiming in on her, to be honest with you. It's sick of you. It's sick of you tonight.
Liam inadvertently called me a wee man because I had 2 Weetabix. I go for
I
honey.
was going to say, Greg didn't disclose how many he had.
Nah, I'll say I didn't go as heavy as 4, but 2 is absolutely for me guys.
Fair enough. I'll go for honey as my topping on my Weetabix personally. I like a bit of sweetness in the morning. But then, guys, all right, we went through our breakfast. Let's go to dinner. Ewan, you disappointed us. No breakfast. Have you got any food on the plate this evening?
What did we have? Chicken Kievs and just like sliced up potatoes. It was shite, mate. What I was supposed to have last night when I was supposed to be cooking for myself last night, but I got takeaway when I got in because I was at the fucking depressed and a little bit hungover. So just had to use them, mate. Just chicken Kievs and sliced up potatoes, corn on the cob. It was all right.
I reckon if you had a bingo card of possible Ewan dinners, one square would say chicken Kievs and the other square would say chicken curry, and that would be your 2. All right, Ryan.
I'm not Kievs for fucking months either, by the way.
All right, I swear you have them every other week. Anyway, Ryan, what have you went for?
So on the way back on the tram yesterday, Elaine told me what she was cooking for dinner for Greg last night, sweet chili chicken. So tonight I was like, I've got to make sweet chili chicken, rice, fried vegetables. So shout out to Elaine for the idea.
Any reason to shout out Elaine's a good enough reason for me. Greg, speaking of the lady herself, what are you having for dinner?
Yeah, I had smoked batter, potatoes and veg, which included broccoli and green beans. It was very good.
That sounds more like a meal suited for a Friday, mate, but sounds nice enough anyway. Liam, what did you go for?
Just a freezer dinner the night. I reheated some pulled chicken I made ages ago, but I had it with oven chips and cheese. Stuck it under the grill with the cheese to fucking go all crispy. It was good. It wasn't very Monday night. It was more Saturday night, but I enjoyed it.
Sounds good, mate. That sounds
Nice.
Right, people
nice.
on YouTube, let us know what you're having for dinner. We made a homemade chicken curry, peppers and curry. That's something I've discovered of late, and it's actually pretty good.
You get that wee crunch.
Onions and peppers in the curry. I never would have thought to have peppers and curry before, but I've been taught new ways.
We keep getting feedback that no one cares about for dinner, and yet it's still the longest segment of the show every single fucking time, man.
Harry lets us go loose on this one.
30 seconds talking about Doidge's performance and 15 minutes talking about what fucking people added into their curry for dinner.
Goodness. But guys, we got a couple games coming up this week. We're going to be playing Luzern during the week in our next European tie. Greg, as our resident scout across Europe, you've done some background digging on our opponents on Thursday. Do you want to give a bit of a debrief on what we can expect?
Yeah, we've had it in Europe, to be honest. So we're playing Luzern from Switzerland. The manager is Mario Frick, record goal scorer for Liechtenstein. He's 48 years old. They finished 4th out of 10 last season They've got 29 players in their squad, average age of 23.6, national team players 2, and current transfer record fees 50,000. They're a bit of a yo-yo club, to be honest. 9 promotions, 8 relegations, which is the most fluctuations in Swiss football. They've only ever advanced in 3 European ties since 1960, 1961, and they've come fairly recently in 1990, 91 season, 2019, 2020 season, and this season as well. They won the Swiss Super League once. They've won the Swiss Cup 3 times, most recently in 2021. They're ranked 9th in all-time Swiss league table. They usually play a 3-4-3 formation. Their captain's Max Meyer, who used to play for Schalke, and was at Crystal Palace. I think De Boer signed them at Crystal Palace. Their top goal scorer is Lars Villager, and 2 goals in 3 games. Currently sitting with a goal difference of 0. They're 7th in the league after 3 games. They suffered a defeat at the weekend, 2-1 to St Gallen, who are considered their fierce rivals. And they've actually got a centre-half, Marco Bartsch, who's considered to be probably the most exciting prospect, 22-year-old. He's played 84 times for the club, scoring 7 goals. They seem to be a fairly well-drilled side with plenty of pace in the flanks, which concerns me. And they always set up to control the game in the midfield area. They're not really a counter-attacking team. They like to go and press and cause problems. And they will absolutely come and set up to play football. They're not a route one side, which concerns me greatly.
Mario Frick, when Craig Levein was Scotland manager, we went 1-0 down at home to Liechtenstein. Mario Frick scored the goal, and I was there that night. Steve McManus scored a 97th minute equaliser against winner, to beat them. That was one of the many low points of Craig Levein's Scotland managerial tenure. Mario Frick had a pretty good career. I think a bit of a journeyman, but good for Liechtenstein. Yeah. But Mario Frick, remember it well.
I love it when you just get random European names and for some reason Greg and Liam know half their life story. It's fantastic. But off the back of that, I'm feeling quite positive. I know you said they've got quite a few good players about the squad, but the fact they've only progressed in 3 ties ever, like, I know, I'd no idea how many we have. We've probably done around 20 or something, but you, and after hearing that, a bit more positive about the game?
Yeah, maybe. I again on Sunday, I decided we were going to beat them. I think on reflection, prior to, I'm glad we're playing the Swiss team and not the Swedish team. I think obviously they did beat the Swedish team over 2 legs, but going into that tie, I'd definitely be, in terms of opponent, they were the preference. I think it might suit us letting them dominate the ball and to try and hit them on the counter with our pace and Boyle and Yuan. So it could be frustrating, and we could end up getting, the crowd might end up getting on the players' backs if that is the way it goes. But I think that might be the most effective way to go about it, and I think that probably gives us a decent chance. Because if they're as good on the ball as what Greg's suggesting, I don't think we're going to outpass them personally from that, especially if that sort of midfield that we spoke about earlier, with maybe someone like Diego coming in to make us a little bit more industrial. I wouldn't fancy us to pass them off the park in that situation.
Yeah. And Ryan, after what G's just broken down, how would you expect us to set up on Thursday?
I probably would have rather play the second leg at home because I think it'll be rather cagey, and we're going to have to score a couple of goals to take over there, just as a kind of security kind of thing, But yeah, my preference would definitely have been to come back to Easter Road, play the second leg, and then if you need to go for it, you've got the licence to do so. But I think it's going to be extremely cagey in the first leg, to be honest with you. But we'll wait and see. There has to be a reaction. I mean, we're waiting on another reaction now from a bad result. So the roller coaster continues.
Hey. And just a couple YouTube comments just before we give our team lineup. Handsome Jack said, do you support any English clubs? If you want to list them off quickly for Jack.
Everton.
Liverpool.
Manchester United Football Club.
Not really,
It's
but
Manchester United.
I do like a few. Sunderland, Forest, Everton.
I was going to say, get your big team in there.
I used to like Man United.
I've already said Forest, mate.
I used to like Man United, but I fell out of them after Ferguson left, and I don't really like the way the club is at the moment. I went to an Accrington game once because my mate just randomly started supporting them, so I always keep tabs on the Accrington score. I like lower league football in England. I think it's better than the top flight. So
I can't see Accrington Stanley in my head without doing Accrington Stanley. I can't.
Oh, and then Mike Hibs 94, what a guy. Can confirm that he didn't end up having square goals. He was calm by Sunday, and then by full time he was not so calm again. But he said, is Vente likely to make that much of a difference if we continue to have little to no creativity and just lump balls up to the striker? Hopefully him coming in triggers a change once he starts playing in the team. Do you think one comment I made on Sunday to Craig is Johnson's no longer got Nisbet to bail him out? I think a few times last season we didn't create anything, and then Nisbet, like the Dundee United game we mentioned earlier, Nisbet single-handedly got us a point. And I think at the moment with the system we're playing, we're kind of relying on individual talent to make something happen because the way we're set up isn't really allowing for many attacks to occur. So do you think Dylan Vente, is that the hope with him that he can have that individual brilliance that carries his team?
When he's played 10 games. It's very tough to judge at the moment, you know. You hope so. Obviously, you hope that he comes in and makes an immediate impact. It's quite a change from Dutch football to Scottish football.
I think what Liam said is relevant there as well, though. I think if Doidge is in the team, it probably does just get a little bit too easy to just, sort of abandon responsibility and just try and hit him. If that option's not there, then you do have to look for another option. So that might lend ourselves to being a little bit more creative, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then Dave Graham said, never had peppers in curry, WTF. So Dave, I believe, who's the one that always complains about us talking about our dinner, is now commenting on my dinner. So, aha, Dave, reverse card, take that. But back to the game this week. Let's just imagine that Vente is available to play. You, and I always come to you because I think you're the best at formulating a team off the top of your head. So what would your 11 be for Thursday? I'm not saying he picks the best teams, Ryan. I'm saying that in terms of actually structuring a team, it comes to his head quicker than us.
For speed, can we just talk about the changes that he'd make from the team on Sunday? Fine. Sorry, pedantic, but
no. That's fine. Boric in for Marshall. In fact, Marshall. Miller in for Delfair. Levitt and Diego for JDH and Campbell, and Vente for Boyle.
Vente for Boyle. Ryan, your head shot up very quickly there. Are you in agreement, or are you thinking Boyle starts and Doidge drops out?
Yeah, is it what we want or what we think?
The question's open to interpretation, mate.
Right, because that's what I want.
Okay.
What
shape is that, you?
4-4-2.
Yeah, I panicked. Liam told me no to just go through it, and I absolutely panicked. I don't know.
I'm just wondering because by taking Boyle out, you're obviously taking your right-sided winger out the equation. I would probably just put in Lewis Miller at right back, Vente up front. Doidge played well, but we're bringing in a big money signing. We need to play him if he's available. And Campbell and Jake Dalhayes unfortunately miss out. So yeah, I would probably put Diego in there for a bit of license and Levitt playing further forward.
I've decided it's a diamond belly. You am playing behind Doidge and Vente, doing whatever the fuck he wants. That's what it is.
You play too much FIFA, bro.
Mate, you asked. You put me on the spot. I managed to piece something together.
Greg or Liam, who are you agreeing more with there, Ewan or Ryan?
I agree more with Ryan.
I just bring Miller and Vente in, and the two material changes I talked about earlier.
Same, man.
Miller and Vente in, but I wouldn't drop these GDH, to be honest. I'd drop Campbell before I dropped him. So, I feel like people have really fucking have done a game with Jake Dalhayes.
What's that?
Be
I'm
the
his
best
biggest
thing
fan.
since been in a couple of weeks as well. So again, yeah, folk are done with my game for the next couple of weeks until they're not really. So yeah,
I'm Jake Doherty's
which I
biggest
find
fan, but
absolutely mental. But there we go.
like if possible, I would drop all 11 players because it was not good enough. But that's just me. Do you know what I mean?
It's just a cliche, Ryan. Same with wanting a reaction. It's just a cliche, isn't it?
I'll put Doyle Hayes.
Stop laughing, Liam.
Performs until
What a reaction.
And we're descending into madness. You sorry, repeat yourself.
We go again.
Tell me what Greg said.
Roller
Doyle
coaster of a
Hayes.
season.
I used to are full of cliches as well. I'm going to start picking up
Oh,
every
I love
time
it.
you do it.
I love it. My engine, mate. Hop on, pal.
You used to just hop on each other all the time, eh? It's
All
like
right,
a
all
new
right.
tag
This
team.
is a post. This
Oh,
is a
here we
post.
go, here
Guys,
we go.
guys that are watching, this is what I have to put up with as soon as the recording ends. But anyway, we're going to do predictions because I know how much Liam loves them. And Ryan, we're going to come to you first. What's your score prediction for Thursday?
1-0 Hibs.
Ooh, 1-0 Cabbage. Who's scoring?
Boyle.
Fair enough. Greg, score prediction.
2-1 Hibs.
Ewan.
1-1.
Ooh,
I don't get asked for that scorer, by the way.
do you want to give me your scorers, Greg? I normally just ask if it's one. Makes it easier.
Jake Dalhousie times 2.
Oh, yes, a bit of that action. We love it. All right, you were giving scorers tonight as well. Who are you saying scores?
Christian Doidge.
Oh, big Doidge. We love to see it. Liam.
2-2. You and double.
Oh, Ewan getting mixed in with the goals. I'm going to go for 2-1 Luzern, and then we'll win next week. That'll be fine because I'm going, so it needs to be special. But one thing I wanted to touch on just before we wrap up with the episode, if we do somehow triumph over our Swiss opponents, we've got a very saucy fixture, which might be slightly lopsided, but we would face Aston Villa. John McGinn's at Aston Villa. Is that something that just quite excites you? I think the prospect of that away day is pretty enticing.
I
I'm
was
bored of
looking
hearing
forward to
about
it.
John McGinn already, by the way.
What?
I'm bored of hearing about John McGinn already, by the way.
All right, well, I've been bored of your attitude for ages, Greg, but it
left
still
Hibs
keeps
about
coming at me.
5 years ago, and all of a sudden, John McGinn derby, just whatever. Just
Liam,
bored,
you were saying.
I was just saying I was really looking forward to it until you described it as a saucy fixture. That to be honest is enough to put me off. You just pished all over my chips, Harry, to be quite honest.
The chips are only ready when you get in the stadium.
You pissed all over my haggis poutine.
Oh no.
No, it's a massive game. Obviously, it would be incredible, and the numbers we'd take down to Birmingham would be amazing. I would like Hibs fans to stop referring to it as going down to Villa. Villa, it's Birmingham is where they play their games. There's no place called Villa. But I am looking forward to the potential of that if we can get past Luzern, because a couple of nights in Birmingham would be sensational, and you can still get a Premier in for about 40 quid as well, so it'd be one of the cheapest European away days imaginable.
You and Ryan, thoughts?
I'm just exactly what Liam said. Like, I think I'd say that again before the game yesterday. I think it was the dream potential. I think it might have been Liam that said it to, that Villa was going to be an option if we got past Luzern, and it came to fruition. Obviously, you'd think it wipes out any chance of getting to the group stages, but you never know. But it'd be a great tie to be a part of and try your luck at least.
Ryan, final thoughts on that?
Love an away day. It's one that's pretty accessible. I think the last two games there's not been direct flights around like that, so it'd be good to take a big crowd down there and just have an absolute ball, like down to Villa.
Flying to Birmingham. Think of the climate, Ryan.
I've MOT'd the car. I'll be fine. Greg for 6 hours in the passenger seat. Oh,
does that mean that you'll get a minibus? Like, just hop in the minibus?
Mate, happy. I'll put this on record.
Volunteered there, Greg. Sounds like you volunteered.
Put this on record. I am happy to drive a minibus down. No bother. Good
Next
guys
to be
only.
driving a 47-seater down to Birmingham.
Big coach, man.
Oh, DTS on tour with Ryan at the wheel. I'm not sure how that's going to go, guys. Also, we do have a game coming up this Sunday against Motherwell, but we've got a game in between. I don't think there's any point previewing that before we've even got through this one. So we might be back later in the week. We've not discussed it, but we might not be. Thanks everybody that's tuned in live. Thanks everybody that is watching this post live, whatever you call that term. And we will catch you. What?
Recorded.
Recorded, that works.